Story this hour, British Prime Minister Theresa May has now officially triggered Article 50 addressing the European Council President Donald Tusk. She notified the European Union of Britain's intention to leave the bloc. With this, Prime Minister May has officially moved the UK into uncharted territories after last June's referendum that voted to leave the EU. Now, Theresa May will have 2 years to settle the terms of the divorce. Well, as it were, from the EU before it comes into effect, well, in March of 2019. The outcome of the negotiations will shape the future of Britain's $2.6 trillion economy. It'll also determine whether London can keep its place as one of the top global financial centres. Theresa May's 6-page Brexit letter has set a positive tone for the talks, though it did admit that the task of extracting the UK from the EU was tough within 48 hours. Now, Tusk will send the 27 other states the draft negotiating guidelines. Theresa May has also promised to seek the greatest possible access to European markets, but said Britain will aim to establish its own free trade deal with countries beyond Europe. May, after delivering the letter, urged Britain to come together and said there is no turning back now from Brexit.
Global Britain, the best friend and neighbour to our European partners, but a country that reaches beyond the borders of Europe too. A country that goes out into the world to build relationships with old friends and new allies alike. And that is why I have set out a clear and ambitious plan for the negotiations ahead. It is a plan for a new, deep and special partnership between Britain and the European Union. A partnership of values, a partnership of interests, a partnership based on cooperation in areas such as security and economic affairs. While we are leaving the institutions of the European Union, we are not leaving Europe. We will remain a close friend and ally. We will be a committed partner. We will play our part to ensure that Europe is able to project its values and defend itself from security threats. And we will do all that we can to help the European Union prosper and succeed.
Most Europeans, including almost half the British voters, wish that we would stay together, not drift apart. As for now, nothing. We already miss you. Thank you and goodbye.
Well, the European Union is unhappy, though, Britain is leaving. European Council President Donald Tusk said that most Europeans wish that they would stay together and not drift apart. Well, let's take a look now at what is Article 50 all about. The British government will formally notify the European Council of its decision to leave the European Union, this by invoking Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty. The agreement forms the constitutional basis for the 28-member organization and includes with it 5 paragraphs pertaining to a country's decision to exit the bloc. All right, let's take a look at the timeline now of all the things that took place with regards to Brexit and just the political history of all of these talks. Well, it was in 1957, that is when the European Economic Community of Rome was formed. The UK joined the EEC in 1973. In 1992, the European Union was formed. The Treaty of Lisbon was signed by the EU member states in 2007. In 2016, the EU referendum started. And in 2019, that is when the UK will officially leave the EU. Well, newspapers and tabloids across the UK, well, all of them were filled with Brexit as PM Theresa May delivered her letter. Take a look at some of the headlines. Here's what they read. Brexit begins. May triggers Article 50 today, telling Britain it's time to come together. Europe will block any deal unless EU citizens can continue to move here. Scottish Parliament backs Sturgeon on the referendum. The Times headlines reads, the eyes of history are watching. May triggers Britain's EU departure. The Daily Express headline says, Dear EU, we're leaving you. Front page of The Guardian reads, today's Britain steps into the unknown. The Sun's front page. Today, as our PM triggers Britain's exit from the EU, we beam this message from the iconic White Cliffs to our neighbours.